Adler, where are you on offshore drilling, including off the coast of New Jersey?
Well, I agree with almost everything that John just said. His initial attack on me was inaccurate. I've been pretty consistent in my view. We need to expand nuclear power in this country. We need to expand oil drilling in the Gulf and on the mainland part of America. We obviously should not be drilling off our coast in New Jersey. Experts tell us there are very small reserves of oil, and the economic and environmental risks to New Jersey are enormous. I was surprised John sort of didn't state his own view on that, because he's been on record for a number of months now saying he supports offshore drilling off our New Jersey coast. I can't imagine the catastrophe that would mean to folks on Long Beach Island in terms of property values, in terms of economic leveraging for that region, for Ocean County, and for much of New Jersey that we get from this tremendous gift we have, our Jersey Shore. One of the best parts of New Jersey is our shore. So I would be worried that Mr. Runyon would be putting our Jersey Shore at risk with his preferred view, which was to drill off our coast. But we certainly need a new energy policy from what we've got, which is nothing. We're letting, as John correctly says, we're letting other countries in some way weaken our national security. We keep sending billions of dollars overseas to Venezuela, this hateful country that keeps disparaging America, to Saudi Arabia that never seems to stand up with us when we really have needs, to Russia, which only recently has occasionally helped us, as it did with our sanctions against Iran, but rarely hasn't been a friend. And indirectly, we're sending money to Iran, a country that's known to sponsor terrorism around the world. So we really have to have an energy policy which generates more energy here at home. It involves nuclear, it involves natural gas, it involves oil. Over time, it's going to involve having new technologies come to bear to really help America be a cutting-edge country in terms of energy production, so we can sell energy around the world. But we just can't have the status quo. It's endangering us in terms of our national security, and the economic policy of sending billions of dollars overseas every year is really, really crippling our economy.
Off the coast of New Jersey, you say yes or no?
I say no, no, no.
John Runyon, anything you wish to add to what you said on drilling off the coast of New Jersey?
I say it's a states' rights issue. And with the current legislature the way it is, it's not going to happen. Why close the door on it? Why federally mandate that you can't drill anywhere? If a state wants it, they're going to have to deal with the consequences of it. Don't shut the door on anybody, because, as you see in the Gulf, everyone in the Gulf is living with that day in and day out. They're losing jobs. They're losing their livelihood. But in the same light, that oil drives their economy.
John Adler, is climate change for real? And if so, what role does man play?
There clearly has been some shift in climate in terms of extremes of weather, tougher storms, worse storms, more devastating storms all around the world. It may be some global warming as a factor, but certainly climate change, the way you phrased it just now, clearly is a statistical phenomenon. It's hurting humanity around the world. It's affecting habitat. It's affecting our security. So we have to deal with it in a rational way that doesn't cripple our economy, but that moves us in a better direction, and we've got to do it quickly.
John Runyon, is climate change for real? And if so, what role does man play?
Well, I think climate change is for real, and I think when you study the history of this planet, the evolution of the planet, climate change is going to happen without the involvement of humans. Yeah, we probably are increasing the speed of it, but it's inevitable that it's going to happen over time.
I recognize that House members don't get a vote on Supreme Court nominees, but I feel like I'd be derelict if I didn't raise Elena Kagan's name, because I'm sure both of you paid attention to the confirmation hearings, and I'd like to get a gut check from each of you as to how well she did and whether you think she should be confirmed as a member of the Supreme Court of the United States. I'll start with Republican John Runyon. Elena Kagan.
My one complaint I have about it is not allowing the military to come in and recruit on the college campus and not changing that rule. That is something that the military has made this country what it is. And to deny that,
when she was Harvard and the dean,
to deny that from the military and what has made this country great is frankly frustrating. Just on that alone, I don't think if I was a senator I would approve that. But I believe the way the Senate is structured right now, I think she will probably be confirmed.
John Adler on Elena Kagan?
I would vote for her. She seems very smart, very analytical, very flexible in terms of looking at cases on their merits, not being a judicial activist. I think she's sort of justice we need on the court.
John Runyon, I understand that you are a proponent of term limits. If you're victorious and you defeat Congressman Adler, how long would you stay if reelected?
Maximum of 4 terms, because I believe our forefathers, when they set the structure of this government up, did not intend politics to be a career, much like Congressman Adler has made out of it.
Congressman,
it is something that the citizen legislature takes a lot of common sense there, and I think the longer you get in it, the more detached you get from the people.
Congressman Adler?
Well, I'm hoping that Mr. Runyon doesn't have that dilemma. I'm hoping he doesn't get elected in November and therefore doesn't have to consider whether to stop after 4 terms. I think that our Constitution served America amazingly well. I think we have term limits. They're called elections. Every 2 years, people get to choose who they want to represent them in the House of Representatives. I've taken that very seriously. It's why I've had over 100 town hall meetings throughout my district to let people yell at me that I'm too liberal or I'm not liberal enough, I'm too conservative or I'm not conservative enough. I've been listening hard to the people in my district. I think they get to make a choice, and that's what our Constitution had in mind.
Congressman Adler, you voted against the president's health care proposal. Is this an area where the two of you agree, or is it a bit more complicated than that?
Well, I think most of the issues that Congress faces right now are pretty complicated. To me, this one ended up being about a failure of the federal government to grapple with cost containment. The businesses I talked to throughout Cherry Hill and Burlington County have told me that year after year throughout this decade, they've experienced 15, 20, 25, 30% premium increases in their health care costs year after year. And that's unsustainable during good times when your revenues are going up. But it's devastating in tough years as we've had 2007, 2008, 2009 during this tough recession. I think Congress failed to contain costs for families that purchase their own insurance and for businesses that purchase insurance for the employees and their families. I think that was a fundamental failure. I voted against it because it didn't do the right thing for our economy in the long term.
John Runyon, had you been in the House at the time of the vote on the health care proposal, how would you have voted and why?
Well, I would have voted against it, much for the same reasons I think Congressman Adler just stated. It did nothing to control the cost of it. But I question Congressman Adler's vote on it. It's convenient that the first vote came down 3 days after Republican Chris Christie took this district by 17%, and to try to run back to the middle to be a moderate in a very moderate district. He's voted with Nancy Pelosi over 90% of the time, and has voted with Jim McGreevey and John Corzine over 99% of the time.
Michael, I got to jump in because it seems like John just got into his attack points that the folks coached him to say. The reality is when the Democrats announced their bill on health care back in June of 2009, that day I announced it wasn't good enough because it didn't contain costs for businesses and for families. That day I spoke to the Speaker. I spoke twice to the President of the United States of America, once in the Oval Office for half an hour, saying time after time it didn't contain costs. I said it in town hall meetings. I had liberal people in my district boo me. I had a liberal run against me in the primary this past June because I believed it had to contain costs. So it's troubling to have people of either party attack me suggesting political expediency when from the very beginning I was extremely consistent. We had to contain costs so businesses could see relief in these rising premiums that are just unaffordable for our economy. So it's troubling to have cheap shots come in when we really should have a real discussion on the merits.